It is time for another professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I got for you today is a Zerg vs Zerg on Newkirk Precinct. Spawning in the bottom left corner with the red Zerg piece is one of my favorite Zerg players to watch. She is known as Scarlett. And her opponent spawning all the way in the bottom right corner of the map, the blue Zerg player known as Nerchio. Now both of these players I have featured many a times on this YouTube channel, and even though they both play Zerg, I would really categorize their playstyles as vastly different. I mean, while they both definitely can execute each other's strategies, for the most part, Nerchio is known as that guy that plays extremely macro-focused. He doesn't really take any risks. I wouldn't be surprised, for example, if he decides to go for the pool first here. Yeah, it looks indeed like that is going to be the case. As Nerchio, he plays that solid, straight-up macro-focused style. If you're looking for a player to copy for your ladder games, for example, I would highly recommend having a look at Nerchio, because he shines at those straight-up economy-focused early games and then switching into a ton of production after he executes some superb defenses. And really, that is most of the time going to be his approach to the game. While he may definitely get aggressive in this particular match, I mean, he doesn't like play exclusively a macro focused style where he's just defending all game long. He definitely has that sort of like as his go-to strategy, and I love watching that just because he doesn't really take any risks, and he executes it better than anyone else that I've ever seen that sort of strategy play. Scarlett, on the other hand, definitely plays a little bit different as well. While she is most definitely capable of playing that macro-focused style, I always sort of have the feeling that she is preparing strategies for her opponent. For example, she recently played in the GSL Code S, and she played like vastly different playstyles than she has been playing in the foreign tournaments instead. Like, for example, this one right here. Scarlett plays very specific strategies for her opponent, and usually she's not scared of, for example, going for a Nidus Worm or going for drop play or doing any kind of like weird tech-based openers. We'll see what she's got in store for us today. Now, this match was played during the Nation Wars semi-finals. The only thing that I know about this game is that it is going to be a longer Zerg vs Zerg, which I love watching, because a lot of these EVZs, like, let's be real here, a lot of the Zerg vs Zerg games are indeed going to be ending within a couple of minutes because both players play the exact same units, and with a little bit of Link Bane micro in the earlier stages of the game, you can very easily get behind, as, you know, just running all of your Zerglings into a single Bane can definitely become a bit of an issue. Now, we do see the first tech of choice here for Scarlett. She's going for that quick evolution chamber, going for that even before any kind of Baneling Nest play or whatever, which definitely is a bit greedy, but of course this does allow her to get like a very quick +1 melee upgrade, which is more than likely going to be happening, as that will allow her to get a ton of Zerglings out with very solid upgrades very early on into the game. Now, of course, the Lynx do make their way across the map. We'll be able to find a queen at the front, so won't really be able to get a whole lot in just yet. Nerchio even pulled the second queen as well to try and get some more damage in, but here indeed, once again, that poke up the ramp, but the Lynx are going to be chasing the other Lynx as well. A drone already heading over towards that third base. Wouldn't be surprised if Nerchio decides to take that here in just a little bit. And indeed, we do see that +1 melee upgrade starting up here for Scarlett. She's going to be able to keep on... Actually, she's got 3 queens right now and no third base, so I wonder if she's actually going to be planning on being aggressive. She may just use the +1 attack here defensively, but regardless, it does make a big difference when it comes to the Zergling versus Zergling fights. A little bit of skirmishing going on right here in the middle stages of the map, of course. Neither player really wants to lose any Zerglings, and they're just going to try and micro their ass off. Look at those 2 Lynx, both alive with just a single bit of HP. Definitely can, you know, keep those once again alive. But here we go, though. A couple of Banes have made their way across the map as well, and this is where things get really interesting. Beautiful target firing right there by those triple queens here in the natural, setting up like a pseudo kind of wall at the front too, and the second spine crawler going down, although that will be cancelled immediately. But there's one thing that I do want to talk about here in just a little bit after this defense does indeed settle down, as it does look like it is going to be the case right now. Scarlett decided to go for a super quick lair. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, because this is super interesting, but we'll see exactly what she's got planned here in just a little bit. But it looks like Nerchio is not done with his aggression just yet. He did eventually start himself up that third base, so that is going to be very helpful, as he will be able to establish a nice little bit of economy lead. And I wonder if he's going to be able to get aggressive. Of course, he could run the Banes into that spine crawler if he wants to, but here's the thing. This is going to be an extremely tricky army to push into, as eventually that Baneling Nest did finish up. +1 melee is just about to finish up on these Zerglings as well. And Scarlett may very well go for the counter attack while getting another spine crawler for defense. And I wonder what she's really going to use this lair for. So usually, if you go for a quick lair like this, right, and you skip out the third base, you really want to try and use that to your advantage by, for example, going for a tech-based push with, say, like a quick spire, so you can get Mutalisk out really early on into the game. But only just now, if she's starting up that second gas mining here in the main base, and I really wonder what she's got in store for us, because I don't see a spire or like infestation pit or anything scary just yet. But more importantly, there's no third base out for her. Of course, the worker count in favor right now of Nerchio, because he's doing Nerchio things. That's exactly what he's good at. And it looks like he's going for that blind spine crawler here in the main. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't really see a whole lot. Does manage to catch 2 queens, by the way, that we're trying to snipe an overlord as well, which is huge. And this does indeed force a whole lot of the links to go back home, almost walking into a single baneling right there, or 2 banelings right there. But eventually, definitely gonna have to give this early game opener here to a Nerchio. Obviously, he doesn't want to lose any more links, but look at that zoning there with the baneling. Beautiful move. Keeping those Zerglings safe, and that allows him to snipe himself another queen. These Zerglings not paying attention because there is some aggression going on the other end of the map as well. Beautiful micro here though by Nerchio, keeping a lot of those units alive. And that blind spine crawler, I mean, I don't think he's ever seen his opponent's main base. No, not knowing about that +1 melee upgrade until it already finished up. But he started that spine crawler, I'm pretty sure, before he knew that that +1 attack was out. And I mean, that is a beautifully timed like push right there by Nerchio, as that did allow him to barely take any losses during this game. Now regardless, while 9 workers did just end up falling, it is really important to keep in mind. A couple of Zerglings, by the way, making their way into the main, and eventually do scout the tech of choice here from Scarlett, seeing that quick spire play, or reasonably quick at this point. But I mean, while there is definitely more workers out right now for Nerchio, more importantly, he's got that third base. It is very easy to overestimate the economy advantage that he's at right now. Sure, he's got a supply lead, but that also doesn't tell the whole story, because in particular, once the tech-based units come out, this can easily flip in favor here for Scarlett, as there is currently very little anti-air available for Nerchio. Now, it looks like he is going to be able to start himself up that second Evo chamber as well. He's going for the Roach Warren. No lair or whatever just yet. He's finally getting one started right now. And no Evo chain or no Spore Crawlers just yet either. I love this kind of playstyle though. He knows exactly how much gas his opponent is getting, so he knows he doesn't really need to rush out any kind of defenses. Rather than me, for example, freaking out and going straight into like a gazillion queens and going for a ton of Spore Crawlers. He's just slowly but surely adding on more defenses for anti-air, and that's exactly what should be able to allow him to defend against all of this aggression. Now, eventually, looks like Scarlett may very well be looking here to take a third base. Not taken just yet, however, and of course, we're closing in on that 10-minute mark, which is indeed when these mineral patches will start running very, very low. I mean, they're already starting to look pretty skinny as it is right now. One baneling does have to go down right there in favor of one queen, or of one Zergling. And once again, look at these moves, right? Oof, that was a reasonable connection, but all things considered, definitely once again gonna have to give the advantage here to Nerchio. Couple of links, however, have made their way across the map once again, though. That spine crawler in a very good position, as it will be able to be target fired down by those drones as well, putting them on hold position, preventing all of these drones from being attacked, and then on top of that, allowing those Zerglings to get hit by that spine crawler. Beautiful little move there, hold positioning, very, very well done. Of course, the Mutalisks are out right now, which should shut down a little bit of the aggression, but of course, Nerchio will be able to start moving across the map here with those Roaches in just a little bit if he so decides to. He's got solid upgrades on them, finishing up that +1 armor, which makes them significantly better against the Mutalisk bounces, and eventually that third base goes up. Now, of course, Scarlett's still at a bit of a disadvantage, right? But she's got like a tech lead. She's even starting up a super quick hive, and this is what I mean. She's prepared a strategy here in mind, and while it definitely didn't work out exactly the way she had it intended here initially, she can contain her opponent very, very nicely now on those Mutalisks. I mean, sure, there is some, you know, anti-air here in the form of queens, but a bunch of these drones are gonna have to pay for this with their lives. But what this really does is give her time. Right? As we know right now, while these Mutalisks are flying around the map and the Zerglings are desperately trying to get some counter-attack damage done, this is when the game becomes very tricky for her, as she will be able to do whatever she wants at home for the next couple of minutes. Now, she is making a couple of drones here as well to start up that mining from the third base, but more importantly, she's going up straight into that hive. I wonder what she's got in store for us with that. Wouldn't be surprised if, for example, we see quick Ultralisk play here, as she has been favoring that just a little bit, but the Mutalisk just sort of contain her, right? She's gonna be able to shut down all scouting here with relative ease, and with all of those overlords gone, this is going to be a very, very tricky engagement here for Nerchio, as if he wants to move out, he's gonna have to do so in the blind, not knowing what his opponent's got in store. Now, of course, a lot of these Zerglings making their way across as well. He did finish up the +1 attack, if I'm not mistaken, on his Zerglings as well. Actually, even got the... Oh no, that's actually Scarlett right now. Yeah, going straight up into the +3 attack even. Wow, but regardless, like, of course, a lot of the times it's just going to be a numbers game, as 40 Zerglings versus 40, you know, Zerglings would be relatively similar, and the upgrades would make a huge difference. But in this instance, it looks like all of the links have made their way across the map and are gonna try and push into the main base at the same time as the natural. And all of the links that were meant defensively are caught with their pens down, as, oh, this burrow play, it's beautiful, look at that. He's gonna be able to get rid of a lot of this and eventually move over towards the aggression right there as well. Couple of links burrowed in the main as well. They're not spotted just yet, and tons of workers are going down. Insane counterattack here from Nerchio. Even though he had the deficit and even though he should be contained right now, it looks like this burrow play sort of allowed him a lot of time, as the Roaches will be able to move across the map as well, while all of these Zerglings deal so much damage, and 17 workers end up falling there. What an insanely cool move there by Nerchio. I feel like burrow is one of those super underused abilities. It did so much damage there, and while we do indeed see the first Ultralisk on the production tab, as well as the chitinous plating, as well as a lot more upgrades, and eventually Scarlett should be able to get those out, I wonder if she's going to be able to even survive to that point. There are Infestors out right now as well, so of course one fungal could hurt a ton. Look at that, he's gonna be able, or she's gonna be able rather, to chain up those fungals absolutely amazingly. And with all of those Hydralisks from the low ground shooting away at all of those mutas, a ton of them had to pay for that with their lives. And while an Ultralisk will come out right now, beautiful move there as well, morphing in those Ravagers to bug out the AI there of those Ultralisks. And while eventually it looks like this army may very well get cleaned up, I mean, that was an insanely cool move. Yeah, indeed, eventually all of these units will be cleaned up, but Nerchio, you know, he definitely did a whole lot of damage, as we can see reflected right now in the army supply as well. Now, Scarlett, still not out of this game yet, though. Of course, a lot of it comes down to the amount of units that you have, but she's got extremely well upgraded Ultralisk at this point. They're gonna be at +3, +2 very, very shortly. The Zerglings do indeed have their Adrenal Glands upgrade. Chitinous plating done on these Ultras, which is an armor upgrade that makes these Roaches deal very, very little damage, but did you see that little cheeky move there with the double Ravager morph in front to make the Ultralisk sort of like bug around in that area? That was so cool. I'm such a nerd in these kind of situations, I'm sorry, but like, that's so cool to see. Zerglings going for the counter-attack. Scarlett eventually did get herself a 4th base up and running as well, which should allow her to at the very least get some continued mining. But of course, the main base will be running extremely low, and so will the natural be very shortly. And this is where things get tricky, as the 4th base is up for Nerchio, and he still got himself a solid economy lead. Watchtower now also broken down. It looks like these Banes were just going for the counter-attack, and they're still going for it. Looks like they're actually trying to make their way across the map here by going into the mineral line that way. A couple of Roaches making their way across as well, but will Nerchio respond in time? Whoa! Look at that! That was insane. They did so much damage. 17 workers going down there. That was not what she had anticipated there at all, but that worked out brilliantly. One of the advantages of getting your +2 attack upgrade and eventually +3 attack as well is that one Baneling will be able to one-shot drones as well. Normally it takes 2 to kill one drone, but now it only took 1, and a ton of workers ended up falling there, and it triggers Nerchio to start moving across the map. We do see those Infestors out, still more Roaches and Ravagers and Hydralisks as well, and I wonder if there are enough units here for Scarlett to defend against this. Of course, she does have Queens out, so she can go for the transfusers, but there we go. Wow, actually going for the Infested Terrans here once again to block out rather that Ultralisk AI, and eventually, while a lot of these units do have to pay for this with their lives and the transfusers will go down, I mean, actually, I was gonna say that this fight went in favor of Nerchio, but Scarlett seemingly to come back here. Huh. Looks like he's found a reason to ever use Infested Terrans, though, once again, really abusing the AI of those Ultralisks. They're a little bit too large. First and foremost, obviously, we saw that move there with the Ravager morphin, and now also those Infested Terrans actually blocking out a lot of the movement. Of course, she does need to be careful here, though, because I mean, Nerchio is very aggressively target firing down those Ultras, and slowly they are all falling. And eventually, while they are shoving forward, this could become an issue in just a little bit. Once again, Zerglings trying to make their way across. They are at +3/+3 right now, so this does mean that they really don't give anything about a spine crawler anymore, as they will be able to snipe those very, very easily. A couple of the links indeed making their way straight into that fort base, but it looks like they are going to be splitting off into the next expansion instead. Of course, once again, using that hold position micro beautifully to try and, you know, slow down those Zerglings so the spine crawler can get more hits off. And yeah, it looks like, I mean, the longer this goes on, right, the more it just goes in favor of Nerchio. I mean, he's got his Hive done now as well. He's starting up those +3 missile upgrades. And while the army compositions are vastly different, Nerchio just has so much more economy. I mean, he's got 50 supply up on his opponent right now, which is absolutely enormous. Like, that is a ton of supply, and that is something very, very scary. Of course, Scarlett with some properly timed fungals, however, could definitely still take this one, but there are so many fungals available now as well for Nerchio. Nerchio, how many infestors does he have? He's got 4 right now, whereas Scarlett, she's got 2. So that is one thing to keep in mind here, but this will all come down to the engagement. But as far as the sheer numbers go, I mean, Nerchio definitely has the upper hand in that regard. Eventually, Scarlett will be able to continue mining from this base as well, but there are lurkers now on the production tab. And lurkers, they deal a ton of damage to armored units, and guess what unit is armored right here? Well, it is going to be these big beefy dudes. They're all going to be taking a lot of bonus damage from those lurkers, as they are indeed going to be moving across the map. Zerglings still threatening the counterattacks, of course. They will be able to take down rocks very quickly as well. And while a lot of the units will get spotted here, this is still absolutely terrifying for Scarlett, as she's desperately trying to get a bunch of upgrades out now as well. I actually thought she already did finish up +1 or +3 melee upgrades. It looks like she actually ended up canceling those when that engagement went down. So she's eventually going to be able to retake that. But here we go. All of the Zerg units are making their way across the map, and while a couple of the mutas are still dealing some damage, this will all come down to one major engagement. And with Nerchio's forces moving on to the creep, I wouldn't be surprised if this is it right here, right now. Of course, ideally you don't want to fight into all of those lurkers, because lurkers, like I said, deal a ton of damage, and indeed that base does get evacuated. A lot of drones end up falling from this base too, but the drones don't really matter anymore. Nerchio is maxed out. 120 supply worth of Scarlett's unit is going to engage as well, and once again, those infested Terrans, they're blocking this AI absolutely crazily. I mean, look at that. Those Ultras took seconds before they were able to engage into that army, and sure, the Queens will be able to keep them alive for a little while longer, but Nerchio's forces are just in too big of a number, and eventually he's gonna be able to power through after really establishing himself that lead in the earlier stages of the game. So you can see the clash of styles right here, right? I mean, Scarlett going for a bit more of a tech-heavy sort of strategy where she focuses on getting a lot of highly upgraded units out on a few bases, whereas Nerchio really goes for the swarmy approach, where he simply gets a ton of drones out after realizing that his opponent was going for some aggression in the earlier stages of the game with the +1 attack. He got that perfectly timed spine crawler, and then, I mean, I gotta say, the counters to those Ultralisks with both the infested Terrans as well as the properly timed Ravager morphs, that was absolutely beautiful. Well deserved. I hope you enjoyed watching this game. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you subscribe so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. While you're at it, do make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Links are in the description. I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.